Justin, how has TV advertising changed over the past 5 years?
Hi, Jenny. So we've seen a huge shift in consumer behaviour from linear to catch-up and now streaming. More and more TV is being delivered over the internet. Everyone is watching what they want when they want, and that makes it easier to personalise advertising too, and we call this addressable TV. And trading dynamics have evolved too, so it's now possible to buy digitally delivered TV ad space with the same programmatic buying platforms that advertisers use for the web. But managing multiple types of content delivery and advertising across many different connected TV platforms has become a headache for broadcasters. So the fragmentation of users has caused a fragmentation of technology, and this complicates advertising too, as different platforms have different capabilities. However, it has democratized TV buying, as local advertisers who weren't previously large enough to buy TV ad slots can now do so on digital and internet connected TV platforms. So this is bringing new buyers to TV. Think about it like with the old world, in order to be an advertiser on TV, you'd have to buy, the smallest area you could buy was an ITV region, so essentially a transmitter region. So you would get, you know, several million people seeing the same ads, and this locked out reasonably sized local businesses such as car dealerships, taxi firms, restaurants out of TV advertising. Funnily enough, you'd see those guys advertise in cinemas. Yes. Sometimes the quality of the advertising wasn't where we would expect it to be for TV, but addressable TV is now allowing those advertisers to target, let's say, just Reading or just Norwich, for example. So, and that's the democratization here. We have more demand for TV ads, and that's really good for broadcasters as well, because it gives them more yield and more demand.
How do you think, or why do you think TV remains a major market for advertisers, especially, as you said, we're seeing such a huge fragmentation of the audience, that, you know, in recent years and at the moment?
So, well, what I would say is that addressable TV is still TV. So all the things that are already great about TV advertising will continue to be true. Addressable is just TV advertising with some additional targeting capabilities, as we discussed. And the challenge we have is managing that shift to digital delivery. But broadcasters are increasingly enabling buyers to buy across both linear and addressable, which can address concerns of lost reach and also ensure that audiences are captured consistently in both places. And addressable is also a really good tool to capture the hard to reach 16 to 34 demographic, or to top up campaigns where reach goals haven't been met in linear alone.
So you mentioned addressable advertising there. What would you say, apart from addressable, or including addressable, what would you say are the big concepts around TV advertising at the moment?
Sure. So I'll start with the two that I've mentioned. So there's addressable, which is being able to target ads on a one-to-one basis. And then there's programmatic. So this is about being able to trade addressable TV advertising space using digital trading platforms. I think there's three other concepts which are really important. So the first is multivariant advertising. So this is being able to show different variants of the same ad, either based on targeting criteria, for example, showing a different creative in a different region, or to a user based on their viewing behavior. Another concept is cross-media measurement. So finding ways to enable advertisers to measure the effectiveness of their campaigns across digital, TV, audio, and other media. And third additional concept is first-party data. So finding ways to use logged-in user data to enhance targeting or otherwise personalize the ads experience in some way. For example, together with multivariant, you could use first-party data to do creative evolution and show different variants of the ad to a viewer every time they see an ad, regardless of which streaming device they're using.
You used the phrase variant there, and I kind of recoiled because that word now has such a different meaning. So how much of the changes that you talked about there and the changes that we've seen in recent years have been driven by the arrival of the likes of Netflix and Disney Plus? Now, I know that they're not advertiser funded at the moment, but they are definitely changing the way that we all consume content.
I mean, there's definitely been a shift of TV viewing towards subscription services with no ads. So Netflix now has over 200 million subscribers globally, and Disney Plus reached over 100 million less than 18 months after they launched. So there's definitely been a shift of viewing from ad-supported to subscription-based services. However, there are also a number of new ad-funded digital streaming services and services experimenting with a combination of subscription and ads. And a good example is Hulu in the US, where viewers can go for a slightly lower subscription but get some ads. And Hulu makes more money from that than the pure subscriptions tier. And we have other examples in sports. For example, DAZN is a subscription service who are also showing ads now. So for broadcasters, it's more of a total revenue play. But it's definitely the case that the total volume of TV advertising may be declining due to subscription services.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because here in the UK, we have broadcast video on demand from the likes of Channel 4 and ITV, where you can pay to opt out of the advertising. And I guess that must impact when they're selling advertising space to, you know, to companies who must, whether they are, you know, allocate a certain amount of that revenue to them, or how that, I'm not sure how that works, but I mean, I sit and watch, you know, broadcaster video on demand quite a lot, and sit there thinking, oh gosh, I've seen that advert every time during every single ad break, and you do find it as a viewer, I think, quite frustrating. I mean, just talking about BVOD, as it's known, broadcaster video on demand, such as ITV Hub now, of course, and All4. What impact have they had on the sector?
Well, they've definitely created new advertising opportunities and, as we said, attracted new buyers to TV. Also, it's created a different kind of buying behavior for TV. It's attracted more performance rather than branding advertisers. Of course, branding still works as well on catch-up services. So increasingly, and this is partially to address the challenge you described of repeated ads, the broadcasters now have the technology and processes to sell a single campaign across linear and digital. But one challenge that you mentioned is with a decline in the amount of advertising, sometimes advertisers are struggling to meet their reach goals, and that's why they're using Addressable to top up campaigns. And you could argue if there's less TV ad space, it actually pushes up the value of the TV ad space that remains as well.
It's interesting, again, just talking about, you know, the way that we kind of binge watch programs. So if you are binge watching something on All4, as I said, you do find that you get the same ad, and if you go to the next episode and the ads are still there, and you're just, by the end of it, you're like, no, I do not want to see that advert anymore. But anyway, so of course, Sky, Channel 4 and ITV recently launched a new advertising metric, which is C-Flight, and that looks at both linear and BVOD data. And do you think that's the way forward? Is that a new way forward for the UK, the British advertising, TV advertising industry?
Well, cross-media measurement is definitely a key desire of advertisers, and C-Flight looks to solve that requirement for broadcaster content to enable advertisers to estimate their campaign reach across linear and BVOD advertising with the UK broadcasters. But the need here is actually bigger than just TV. So advertisers want to be able to measure their reach across all video advertising channels. And ISBA's Project Origin looks to solve this for publishers, online video platforms, as well as for TV. So we believe collaboration between C-Flight and Origin would help to solve this challenge and deliver tremendous value to marketers and consumers as well.
So that's a positive for the industry, that this collaboration between the commercial broadcasters.
It's definitely a move in the right direction, but it needs to expand beyond just BVOD to deliver the promise to the advertisers.
So here's a term that I still struggle with, and I think I'm possibly not the only one: dynamic ad insertion. Okay, I'm going to ask you, what is it, and what impact is it having on the industry?
Yeah, so dynamic ad insertion, or DAI, is not a painful operation, but it's a technology. It's usually used to describe seamless insertion of ads for streaming services. So this has been used by broadcasters for the last 5 years or so to personalize ads for their live streaming. It's most heavily used for live sports events or people streaming live TV. And DAI allows each viewer to theoretically see a completely different set of ads. But in practice, it enables broadcasters to sell their ad breaks in smaller chunks using digital ad servers and trading technologies such as programmatic advertising. So DAI is important because for most broadcasters, it gives them complete control over the advertising experience for their users, which is something they're not able to do with traditional linear TV, where everyone in that transmitter region receives exactly the same ad. And streaming for most broadcasters, especially post-pandemic, is now a double-digit percentage of their viewing, and it's a growing opportunity. So this new control enables them, as we said, to bring local advertisers to TV, as well as niche advertisers who want to target a specific audience, but not air to the whole country. And over time, it will allow advertisers to show different variants of ads to different viewers, as we previously discussed. But advertisers need to have the processes and technologies to create those ads first. And at present, advertisers don't yet have workflows that allow them to create 27 variants of an ad. So this will come in time.
Wow, 27 variants. That really is scary. Let's move on quickly. So we talked about addressable TV. And I know, just going back to that, what is really the difference between addressable TV and traditional TV advertising?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, addressable TV is one-to-one and traditional TV is one-to-many. So that means addressable TV can be personalized, whereas with traditional linear TV, everyone sees the same ads. So linear TV is traditionally great for mass reach campaigns, but addressable also allows for personalizing ads, different versions of the same ad, localizing, making more relevant to viewers and so forth, or selling TV ad space in a more granular way, bringing new advertisers to TV or helping advertisers meet their reach. But I would say they're still both TV, and the way I think about it is addressable TV is linear TV with extra capabilities.
Personalisation, of course, has become a key component of advertising in recent years. Whatever I click on, the TV or my TV system or the advertisers or whoever are going to remember that. So what effects have we seen from tailored advertising, and does it drive consumer engagement and spend?
Well, addressable has definitely been great for campaign activation, so moving people down the purchasing funnel. And remember, these are often clickable TV ads on mobile and desktop devices. So many addressable campaigns are followed by purchase intent actions. Now, click on the Domino's pizza ad and the pizza will be with you by half time. You can't typically do that on TV. But we also have data that shows that 3 times as much attention is paid to ads that are relevant to me. And the best way to think about this is addressable is a technology that allows advertising to be more engaging for viewers, more impactful for advertisers, and to drive a higher yield for broadcasters as a result. And broadcasters tell me that due to these capabilities, a digital eyeball is now worth more than a linear eyeball. So we've already seen the tipping point in terms of value. What we haven't yet seen is addressable adopted at a mass scale in all platforms, but this will come in time. So
at some point, somebody very clever is going to understand that when I'm watching content, maybe on, well, not necessarily on linear, but on a streaming service, they can target me by showing me ads to do with Liverpool Football Club, Coldplay, and any film trailer, and that will be my ad break.
And yeah, and to keep it fresh and interesting, you may see ads in those genres, but they may be different variants of the ads, so that you don't get the ad fatigue that you've seen. But yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the holy grail of integrating first-party data into advertising. It's just many things need to happen for this to happen perfectly across all platforms.
When do you think we would get to that point?
Oh. So we are a few years away from, let's say, more than 50% of TV advertising having the capability of addressable. And I think that's when we're going to see the tipping point. I think when most TV advertising becomes addressable, then people are going to want to do lots of really, really exciting things because it will drive value. I think up until that point, it still seems a heavy lift to create the multiple variants, to integrate the targeting criteria and so forth. So you do get some benefits by implementing some capabilities of addressable, but when everything becomes addressable, then people will be backfilling with linear and using addressable first. We're not quite there yet, though.
Yeah. Okay. How important is personalized advertising within the context of delivering TV or content as an experience?
Well, as well as driving more revenues in advertising, with digital, we're seeing this experimentation of business models. So the example we gave with Hulu making more money from their slightly lower subscription with some ads versus their no ads model. And one thing that's really exciting with digital, you're able to vary the funding model for every viewer, or even experiment with ad loads. And it's also notable that younger viewers are used to advertising experience and typically don't want to pay subscriptions, at least in my household. But there is a trend towards shorter ads and skippable formats in online video. So I'd expect this to come to broadcaster VOD services too. But I think experimenting with ad load for, keep the ad load new for new viewers, and ramp it up over time, or use it as a way, as Spotify do, to start with an ad-funded proposition and upsell people to a subscription basis, will allow broadcasters to do what they ultimately want to do, which is grow the total revenue of their services.
So that's a little bit like we were talking about the BVODs, like All4 and ITV Hub. Okay, so we talked about a time where viewers will see adverts completely tailored to them on streaming services or on a BVOD. Yeah. Could that ever happen on linear TV?
Well, yes. As TV platforms are increasingly connected to the internet, there are several ways to replace linear ads with digital ads in set-top boxes, such as Sky's AdSmart, or using TV-specific integrations, or using new standards such as HbbTV. So I think we're only a few years away from this tipping point where the majority of TV ad space has this technical capability, but it won't ever be 100% personalized, as mass reach campaigns are still important, and while we still have traditional linear distribution as well. And I think that's going to be around for some decades.
Yeah, definitely. So just my final question, obviously TV advertising has been particularly hit in the past year by the pandemic. There have been, doomsayers within the industry saying it will never recover to the levels we saw pre-pandemic. What do you think?
Well, 2020 was a remarkable year for broadcasting, and I believe we've jumped forwards 3 to 5 years in terms of digital adoption. But digital TV is still TV. So when people started watching TV on satellite, we didn't say linear TV was declining. It's just the distribution medium has shifted. And total video viewing still continues to grow, although the share of subscription-only broadcasting is also growing. So there is a challenge there to ad-funded broadcasters to take advantage of their digital proposition. And we know now that digitally enabled advertising, eyeball for eyeball, drives more value due to these additional capabilities, targeting, multivariate, and so forth. So total advertising revenue from video will continue to grow, and total revenue from broadcaster content should also continue to grow. So I think if you take a more expansive view of what TV is, I would say the future for TV advertising is really bright.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Justin.
Thank you for your time, Jenny. Good to speak to you.